The first warning came from the horses. Long before the horn sounded on Winterfell's eastern wall, before a sentry cried out that something vast was moving through the clouds, every animal in the castle yard began to strain against leather and rope. Stable doors shuddered beneath the blows of terrified hooves. Hounds crawled under carts with their ears flattened. Ravens burst from the rookery in a black, disordered cloud, abandoning perches they had occupied through storms, sieges, and the return of dead men. Jon Snow heard the commotion from the broken battlement above the inner gate. He had been standing there since before sunrise, watching masons replace stones shattered during the battle for Winterfell. The castle was his again, though the title the lords had placed upon him still sat strangely upon his shoulders. King in the North. The words belonged to songs, tombs, and stern faces carved in old granite. They did not belong to a man who had died beneath the knives of his own brothers, and opened his eyes again beneath a red woman's trembling hands. The northern sky was the color of iron. Low clouds dragged their bellies across distant hills, hiding the rising sun. Snow had begun during the night, and still fell in thin, wandering threads. Then the clouds moved against the wind. Jon narrowed his eyes. At first he thought he was looking at the shadow of a mountain cast upon the mist. It lengthened, folded, and vanished. A heartbeat later, the clouds tore open. Green wings spread across the dawn. The creature descended with a sound deeper than thunder. Its body was immense, armored in scales that shifted between forest green and burnished bronze as the light touched them. Snow spun from the rooftops beneath the force of its wings. Men scattered from the walls. One dropped his spear and threw himself flat. Another began praying to every god he could name. The dragon circled once above Winterfell. Jon had seen drawings made by maesters who had never seen a living dragon. He had heard old tales from Maester Luwin, stories of Balerion, the Black Dread, and of Aegon's sisters crossing battlefields beneath wings large enough to darken towns. None of those stories had prepared him for the presence of one. It was not merely an animal flying above the castle. It was power-given flesh. It was the past returning to demand an answer. The horn finally sounded, 3 ragged blasts that sent men rushing toward the battlements. Archers appeared along the walls with bows and shaking hands. "Hold!" Jon shouted. The command was nearly lost beneath the wind of the dragon's passing. Sansa Stark emerged from the keep wrapped in gray wool and white fur, her red hair bound behind her head. Davos Seaworth followed, still fastening his cloak. Tormund Giantsbane came from the barracks with an axe in one hand and an expression that was almost delight. "Well," Tormund called, looking upward, "that is a large bird." The dragon banked. Jon saw the turn of its narrow head and the flare of its nostrils. It had chosen a place to land. "Get everyone inside," Sansa ordered. The courtyard erupted into motion. Servants fled toward the hall. Soldiers dragged carts beneath archways. Mothers seized children and vanished through doors. The archers remained, awaiting Jon's command. He gave them none. The dragon passed over the eastern wall so low that the tips of its wings seemed to scrape the stone. It did not enter the courtyard. Instead, it descended beyond the inner castle, toward the Godswood. Jon was already moving before he understood why. Sansa caught his arm at the foot of the stair. "Where are you going?" "To see what it wants. It is a dragon. I had noticed. It may burn you alive." Jon looked toward the Godswood. A deep impact shook snow from the roof tiles. Somewhere beyond the wall, Ghost howled. "If it wished to burn us," Jon said, "it could have done so from the sky. That does not mean it has come in peace." "No," he replied. "It does not." He pulled free and crossed the yard. Davos hurried beside him. "Your Grace, I have spent much of my life avoiding fires. I have found it a habit worth preserving." "Then stay here." "That would be the wise choice." Jon glanced at him. Davos sighed. "Which is why I expect none of us will make it." Tormund joined them with his axe resting against his shoulder. Sansa followed despite the guards pleading with her to return to the keep. The door to the Godswood stood open. Beyond it, Ancient trees swayed, though the air within the walls had gone still. Jon entered first. The God's Wood had always seemed older than Winterfell. The castle might be rebuilt or burned, its towers toppled and raised again. But the trees appeared indifferent to the work of men. Their roots ran beneath every wall. Their branches remembered kings whose names had vanished from songs. The dragon had landed beside the black pool. Its wings folded slowly against its body. Claws longer than swords pressed into the frozen soil. It towered above the heart tree, yet it had damaged nothing. Even its tail had curled between the trunks without breaking them. Ghost stood near the weirwood, white fur raised along his spine. The dire wolf did not flee. Neither did he advance. The dragon lowered its head. Jon stopped. Heat rolled from it, carrying a scent of smoke, rain, and something mineral, like stones split open by lightning. Its eyes were molten gold surrounding narrow black pupils. They fixed upon Jon with an intelligence that stripped away every comforting thought of beasts and masters. Sansa whispered behind him, "Do not go closer." Jon heard her. He understood her fear. Yet another voice seemed to move beneath her words, too quiet to be heard, and too powerful to ignore. It was not speech. It was recognition. His dreams had changed since his return from death. He often woke with the taste of ash in his mouth. He dreamed of falling through snow while something winged moved above him. He dreamed of fire beneath ancient ice, and of a face he could never quite see. Now the feeling from those dreams stood before him. Jon unfastened Longclaw and placed it on the ground. "What are you doing?" Davos asked. Jon removed his gloves. The dragon's throat vibrated. The sound was not a growl, though the air trembled with it. He took one step forward. Rhaegal's head was larger than a horse's body. Scars marked the scales along his jaw and neck, pale lines left by chains, stone, or battle. The dragon had crossed an ocean, Jon thought. It had endured confinement, hunger, and war. Whatever had brought it north had not been chance alone. Jon took another step. Memories came unbidden. A woman he had never known singing in a tower filled with blood and roses. His father, or the man he had called father, standing beneath falling snow with sorrow in his eyes. Fire consuming the dead at Castle Black. Ygritte dying in his arms. The knives of Bowen Marsh and the others entering his body one after another. A red glow beyond closed eyelids. The dragon inhaled. Jon felt the pull of that breath against his clothes. "Easy," he murmured. The word was absurd. Nothing about the creature was easy. Rhaegal opened his jaws slightly. Rows of dark teeth appeared. An orange glow stirred deep in his throat. Every bough along the wall was raised. Jon looked over his shoulder. No arrows. The men hesitated. "No arrows!" he shouted. Bows lowered. Jon turned back. The glow faded. He continued until he could feel the heat of the dragon's breath against his face. Rhaegal's scales were not smooth. They overlapped like plates of hammered metal, each edged in bronze. Snow melted before touching them. Jon lifted his hand. The dragon moved. Sansa cried out. Rhaegal thrust his head forward, stopping so close that Jon's palm struck warm scale. The world disappeared. For an instant, Jon was no longer standing in the God's Wood. He was above the narrow sea with salt wind tearing at wings that were not his. He saw black ships scattered below, sails bearing a red three-headed dragon. He felt a distant call from the south, fierce and familiar, a bond of blood and command. Yet another call had risen from the north, quieter but older, like a song buried beneath mountains. He saw himself through golden eyes, a small black shape in the snow, a flame hidden in ice. He saw a silver-haired woman standing upon the deck of a ship, reaching toward an empty sky, as if she had felt something leave her. Then, he was back beneath the trees. His hand remained against Rhaegal's face. The dragon closed his eyes. No one spoke. Jon's heart beat with such force that each pulse seemed to echo through his bones. Beneath his palm, he felt another rhythm, slower and immeasurably stronger. Rhaegal exhaled. Smoke curled around Jon without burning him. Ghost lowered his head. After a moment, the dire wolf crossed the snow and stood at Jon's side. Rhaegal opened one eye, regarding him. Ghost regarded the dragon in return. Tormund began to laugh. It was not mockery. It was wild, astonished joy. The dead man has found himself a dragon. Sansa did not laugh. Her face had gone pale, but her eyes were sharp. "What does this mean?" she asked. Jon looked up at the great green head looming over him. "I don't know." The dragon shifted, lowering one shoulder. A line of bronze spines ran along his neck and back. Between two of them was a hollow worn smooth, as though something, or someone, had rested there before. Jon understood the invitation a heartbeat before Davos did. "Oh no," the old knight said. "Whatever you are thinking, think of something else." Rhaegal lowered himself farther. Jon stared at the place between the spines. He had never feared horses, even unbroken ones. A dragon was not a horse. It could not be saddled, bridled, or commanded by reins. It might carry him into the sky or cast him against the walls with equal ease. Yet the certainty within him deepened. The dragon had not come to kill him. It had come to choose him. Jon placed one boot against the rough edge of Rhaegal's foreleg and began to climb. Sansa seized his cloak. "Jon," he paused. For a moment, they were not king and lady, not the rulers of a ruined castle surrounded by enemies. They were brother and sister again, standing beneath the eyes of gods they did not understand. "You do not have to prove anything," she said quietly. "This is not proof." "What is it then?" Jon looked at Rhaegal. The dragon turned his head slightly, one golden eye reflecting the red leaves of the heart tree. "An answer," Jon said, though he did not yet know the question. He climbed. The scales were warm beneath his hands. He settled between the spines, gripping one with both arms. There was no saddle, no chain, no voice instructing him what to do. Rhaegal rose. The movement lifted Jon higher than the godswood wall. He saw Winterfell spread around him. Broken towers, snow-covered roofs, crowded battlements. Hundreds of faces turned upward. Sansa stood below with one hand pressed to her mouth. Davos looked as though he had aged 10 years. Tormund raised his axe and roared approval. Rhaegal spread his wings. The first downstroke struck the trees like a storm. Jon nearly lost his grip. Snow exploded upward. The ground fell away. He had known cold on the wall, in the frost fangs, and beneath the shadow of death. He had never known wind like the wind above Winterfell. It tore a shout from his throat. Rhaegal climbed between the towers, bronze horns cutting through the pale air. The castle dwindled beneath them. The King's Road became a black thread. The Wolf's Wood rolled toward the horizon, endless and dark beneath winter. Fear seized Jon. Then the dragon banked and fear became something else. Freedom. For the first time since Lord Commander Mormont had placed Longclaw in his hands, no oath weighed upon him. No crown pressed against his brow. No army waited for a command. The dead could not reach him here. The living could not ask him to become what they required. There was only the sky, the dragon, and the roaring blood within him. Rhaegal cried out. The sound rolled across the north. Jon felt it pass through his chest, and without knowing why, he answered with a cry of his own. Far to the south, beyond leagues of land and gray sea, another dragon herd. And upon the deck of a black-sailed ship, Daenerys Targaryen lifted her head toward an empty northern sky. Jon returned to Winterfell before noon, though the flight had felt both like an hour and an entire life. Rhaegal descended into the outer yard with less care than he had shown in the Godswood. Men fled from the gusts of snow and grit. A roof lost several tiles. One of the kitchen chimneys cracked beneath the impact of a wing. The dragon settled among overturned barrels and regarded the chaos with complete indifference. Jon slid from his back and landed badly, one knee striking frozen ground. For several breaths he remained there, laughing. He could not remember the last time laughter had come so easily. Perhaps before he had left Winterfell for the Wall. Perhaps before he had understood what it meant to be a bastard among true-born children. Then Sansa crossed the yard toward him, and the laughter died. You could have fallen. I nearly did. You could have been carried beyond the wall. He brought me back. He? She asked. Rhaegal. Her gaze moved to the dragon. You know its name? Jon did. The knowledge had been in him when he touched the scales. He had not heard the name spoken, yet he knew it as certainly as he knew ghosts. Rhaegal, named for someone, a man connected to grief, music, and fire. I think so. Davos approached more cautiously, keeping Jon between himself and the dragon. There are easier ways to impress your bannermen, he said. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. That is often when men are most impressive. Tormund slapped Jon's shoulder hard enough to stagger him. Next time we fly north. There will not be a next time, Sansa said. Rhaegal turned his head toward her. The low rumble in his chest made the stones tremble. Sansa stood her ground. Jon felt the dragon's displeasure as a pulse behind his ribs. Not anger precisely, possessiveness. He understands you, she said. Some things. Can you command him? Jon looked at Rhaegal. I don't know. That answer frightened her more than any boast might have done. The northern lords arrived by nightfall. Ravens had left Winterfell before Jon landed, carrying messages whose details changed with each retelling. Some claimed 3 dragons had descended upon the castle. Others insisted Jon had summoned a beast from beneath the crypts. By evening, men were already calling Rhaegal the Green Dread, the Winter Flame, and the King's Wing. Jon called him Rhaegal. The dragon refused the stables, the ruined tower, and every enclosure the castle could offer. He chose the eastern field beyond the walls, where sheep had once grazed in summer. The flock was moved with great haste. Rhaegal consumed 3 animals, slept beneath falling snow, and woke whenever Jon walked farther than the inner gate. At the feast held for the assembled lords, no one spoke of anything else. Lyanna Mormont declared that the gods had given their answer concerning the Northern Crown. Lord Glover asked whether the beast could burn an army. Lord Royce wanted to know where it had come from. Several older men remembered rumors from Essos. A silver queen, 3 dragons, cities freed from chains. Sansa listened and said little. When the hall finally emptied, she asked Jon to remain. Bran Stark waited beside the hearth. His return from beyond the wall had unsettled the castle almost as deeply as Rhaegal's arrival. The boy Jon remembered had loved climbing, stories, and summer afternoons. The young man seated before the fire seemed to look through walls, years, and flesh alike. You knew, Jon said. Bran's expression did not change. I saw him flying north. Why didn't you warn us? You would not have believed me. I might now. Yes. Sansa closed the doors. Tell us where the dragon came from. Dragonstone, though he did not begin there. He crossed the narrow sea with Daenerys. A storm divided him from the ships 2 nights ago. Drogon and Viserion turned south when she called. Rhaegal turned north. Why? Jon asked. Bran looked at him. The fire shifted. For an instant, the flames appeared blue at their roots. He felt you. Silence filled the hall. Jon crossed his arms. Dragons do not feel men across oceans. Not most men. Sansa's face hardened. Say what you mean. Bran regarded them with the calm of someone describing a distant landscape. Father was not Jon's father. The words entered the room without force. Their meaning came later, spreading slowly, like a crack through ice. Jon stared at him. Sansa said, "That is a cruel thing to say." It is true. Who told you? No one. I saw. Jon wanted to dismiss it. Bran's visions might be dreams twisted by hunger, grief, or whatever had happened beneath the roots of the world. Yet Rhaegal's heartbeat seemed to answer from beyond the castle wall. Who was my mother? Jon asked. Lyanna. The name struck deeper than any blade. Jon remembered the statue in the crypts. A young face of stone. Blue roses carved around her feet. Ned's silence whenever Jon had asked. Sansa lowered herself into a chair. That would make him our cousin, she whispered. Yes. Who was his father? Bran's gaze did not leave Jon. Rhaegar Targaryen. Jon turned away. The fire cracked behind him. Somewhere outside, Rhaegal gave a low call. No, Jon said. Rhaegar and Lyanna were married in secret. The marriage was lawful. You were born in the Tower of Joy while Robert's rebellion was ending. Father found Lyanna dying. She made him promise to protect you. Jon's hands had begun to tremble. He closed them into fists. All his life he had imagined his mother in 1,000 forms. A fisherwoman, a servant, a highborn lady. Someone Ned had loved and left behind. He had resented a dead woman without a face. He had resented Ned for refusing to speak of her. Every imagined answer had contained shame. The truth contained a kingdom. You are saying Father lied to everyone, Sansa said. He lied to save Jon. Robert would have killed Rhaegar's son. Jon thought of King Robert laughing in the Great Hall, of his huge hand descending upon Jon's shoulder, of the hatred in his voice whenever he spoke of Targaryens. Ned had placed his honor beneath that hatred, and allowed the world to think him faithless. For Jon.e. Why tell me now? Jon asked. Because the dragon knows. That is not an answer. It is the only one that matters. Jon faced him. What am I called? Bran's eyes reflected the flames. Aegon Targaryen. Jon recoiled as though struck. No. That was the name your mother and father chose. My name is Jon. It is. I am not a Targaryen. You are. I do not want their name. Bran inclined his head. Names do not ask what we want. Sansa rose and approached Jon. She stopped just before touching him, perhaps uncertain whether he would accept comfort. If this is true, she said, no one can know. Bran looked toward the door. Others will. Not from us. Sam knows part of it. Sam Tarly found a record at the Citadel. It confirms the marriage. Jon pressed a hand to the table. The room seemed unsteady beneath him. He was not Ned's bastard. He was Lyanna's son. Rhaegar's son. A lawful heir to a dynasty overthrown before he could speak. The crown upon his head had already felt too heavy. Now another waited in the south, forged of swords and blood. I don't want the Iron Throne. Sansa studied him. Want may not matter. It matters to me. It will not matter to the lords who hear this. It will not matter to the queen whose dragon has chosen you. No. Jon looked toward Bran. Daenerys. She is Rhaegar's sister. My aunt. Yes. The word felt impossible. He had never met her. Yet she had crossed an ocean with armies, ships, and dragons. She believed the Iron Throne belonged to her. If she learned that Rhaegar had left a son, what would she see in Jon? Kin, rival, thief. Outside the hall, a shadow passed over the windows. Rhaegal had risen from the field. He circled the castle once and landed upon the curtain walls, scattering guards. His head appeared beyond the arched glass, golden eye looking into the room. Sansa followed Jon's gaze. This cannot be hidden, she said. Jon watched the dragon. No, he answered. Not for long. During the next days, he learned the difference between being carried by a dragon and riding one. Rhaegal accepted no saddle. Smiths could design nothing that would fit between the bronze spines without limiting the movement of his wings. Jon used leather straps looped around the largest scales, and learned to hold with his knees as much as his hands. The first lessons left him bruised from hip to ankle. Rhaegal did not respond to spoken commands as a horse might. Their understanding came through intention, pressure, and flashes of feeling. When Jon wanted to turn east, he pictured the sunrise over the sea and pressed his left leg against the dragon's neck. When he wanted to descend, he leaned forward and thought of earth. Sometimes Rhaegal obeyed. Sometimes he did as he pleased. They flew above the Wolfswood, the White Knife, and villages where farmers fled into their homes at the sight of them. They crossed the field of battle where bolten corpses had once lain beneath heaps of snow. Jon felt Rhaegal's hunger at the scent of old blood and steered him away. With each flight, the bond strengthened. Jon began to sense the dragon before waking. He dreamed of open sky and awoke tasting wind. He felt irritation when Rhaegal found the eastern field empty of sheep. He felt pleasure when the sun warmed the bronze ridges of the dragon's back. Rhaegal in turn felt Jon's nightmares. On the fourth night, Jon dreamed of the wall falling beneath blue fire. He saw dead men walking through the ruins. He saw a pale king riding a dragon whose eyes burned like frozen stars. He awoke to Rhaegal roaring outside the castle. Every bell in Winterfell began to ring. Jon ran into the yard barefoot, long claw in hand. Rhaegal stood upon the wall with wings spread, breathing smoke toward the north. Bran was already there. "You saw it," Jon said. "I have seen it many times." "The wall?" "Yes." "A dead dragon?" Bran turned his strange, distant gaze upon Rhaegal. "One of them." Jon looked toward the northern horizon. The true enemy was coming. He had known it before the lords named him king, before the banners gathered, before Rhaegal crossed the sea. Yet now, the war had changed. A dragon could burn the dead. A dragon could also become one of them. "Daenerys must be warned," Jon said. Sansa came into the yard, wrapping a cloak around herself. "You would send a raven?" "No." She understood at once. "You mean to go to her?" "I mean to ask for dragonglass and her help. You have both in the north now. One dragon will not be enough. And if she takes him from you..." Jon placed his hand against Rhaegal's heated scales. "She can try." The words surprised him. They surprised Sansa more. The dragon rumbled, and Jon felt the answer move through both of them. Daenerys reached Dragonstone beneath a sky emptied of welcome. The island appeared through rain like the spine of some drowned beast. Black towers rose from cliffs of volcanic stone. Carved dragons clung to parapets and gates, their mouths open in silent roars. Her ancestors had lived there before Aegon crossed to Westeros, before the Iron Throne, before the realm learned to fear the sound of wings. It should have felt like home. Instead, she felt the absence above her. Drogon landed first, claws striking the beach hard enough to crack stone. Viserion descended near him, pale wings folding. Both called into the storm. No answer came. Daenerys remained beside the longboat while soldiers carried banners and chests onto the shore. Salt water soaked the hem of her coat. Tyrion Lannister stood several paces behind, waiting with the patience of a man who knew comfort would be unwelcome. Rhaegal had vanished during the storm 2 nights earlier. She had felt him turn away. The bond between mother and dragon was not made of words. It was hunger, heat, anger, affection, and 1,000 instincts moving beneath thought. She had felt Rhaegal's confusion when lightning split the clouds. She had called to him. Drogon and Viserion answered. Rhaegal did not. He had found something else. "Scouts will search the coast," Tyrion said. "He is not on the coast. You cannot know that." Daenerys turned to him. Tyrion lowered his eyes. "Of course." Missandei of Enith approached with Grey Worm. "The castle is secure. Was anyone here?" "Only a small household left by Stannis. They surrendered." Daenerys looked up at the fortress. Generations of her family had walked its halls, yet every step she took toward it felt as though she were following ghosts who had not asked for her return. Inside the chamber of the painted table, she placed her hands upon a map of Westeros carved from wood. The continent spread before her beneath candlelight. Kingdoms, rivers, roads, mountains. Somewhere upon that map was Rhaegal. She closed her eyes. For a moment, there was nothing. Then a flash of cold air. Snow. A black-clad figure between bronze spines. Joy so sharp it became pain. Her eyes opened. He has a rider. No one answered immediately. Varys stood near the door, hands folded inside his sleeves. Jorah Mormont watched her with concern. Tyrion studied the map. That would be unusual, he said carefully. It should be impossible. Dragons have accepted riders before. Of Valyrian blood. Tyrion raised his brows. Then, perhaps we have learned something about the rider. Daenerys felt betrayal burn hotter than reason. She had named Rhaegal for the brother she never knew. She had carried his egg through the Red Waste. She had watched him emerge from flame. She had chained him beneath Meereen because she feared what his freedom would cost. And she had freed him when she understood that chains had nearly destroyed them both. Now he carried a stranger through winter skies. Find him, she said. Varys inclined his head. I may already have. He produced a narrow strip of parchment. A message reached our agents in White Harbor. A green dragon landed at Winterfell. The Northern King touched it and survived. By the following morning, he was seen riding above the castle. The Northern King, Daenerys repeated. Jon Snow. The name meant little to her. A bastard raised by Eddard, former Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, recently declared king after defeating the Boltons. Tyrion had spoken well of him based upon reports from the north. Now Daenerys despised the sound of it. He stole my dragon. No one steals a dragon, Jorah said. The words were quiet, but they struck the chamber like a challenge. Daenerys looked at him. Jorah did not retreat. A man might steal a horse or seize a ship. A dragon would not carry him unless it chose to. That is meant to comfort me? No, Khaleesi. Only to prepare you. Nani. And Ben. At Bay. Hanka. For what? The possibility that Rhaegal will not return simply because you command it. Drogon roared from the cliffs. Daenerys felt his anger answer hers. Send a raven to Winterfell, she said. Tell Jon Snow to come to Dragonstone and return what belongs to me. Tyrion exhaled slowly. We may wish to choose different words. He has my dragon. He also has the North, an army we may need, and perhaps blood that dragons recognize. Accusing him of theft before meeting him could turn a mystery into a war. Daenerys looked down at the painted kingdoms. She had imagined her first conflict in Westeros would be against Cersei. She had prepared to face lions, krakens, and whatever remained of the old regime. She had not prepared for a wolf in the sky. The raven reached Winterfell in 6 days. Jon read the message twice. Sansa stood at the head of the council table while Davos watched him from beside the fire. Bran had not attended. He spent most of his days in the Godswood now, seeing things no one else could. She commands you to present yourself, Sansa said. She invites me to discuss an alliance. She commands you to return her dragon. Jon placed the parchment down. Rhaegal is not a sword I took from her table. She will not see it that way. No. And you still mean to go? The dead are marching. Then let her come north. She has no reason to believe us. She has a reason to want what you possess. Jon looked through the window. Rhaegal lay in the eastern field, half covered in snow, smoke rising lazily from his nostrils. Davos rubbed his shortened fingers together. Perhaps that is why we should go. A queen with 2 dragons may be more inclined to listen to a king with 1. I thought you disliked the idea, Sansa said. I dislike dragons. I dislike dead men more. Jon folded the message. I will go, To Dragonstone. Sansa's mouth tightened. With an army? With Davos and a small guard. You cannot arrive upon her island without Rhaegal. I would not leave him here. Then you will arrive riding what she believes is hers. That is not a meeting. It is a declaration. Jon knew she was right. He also knew Rhaegal would follow him if he left by ship. The dragon had flown above Jon during a journey to Last Hearth and waited outside the walls for 3 days. Distance did not loosen the bond. It sharpened it. What would you have me do? Ask her to come north. Meet on neutral ground. She will refuse. Then let her. We are not her subjects. Jon studied Sansa. She had learned caution in courts where a misplaced word could kill more surely than steel. Her suspicion had saved them more than once. Yet caution would not stop the Night King. I will not kneel, he said. I will not surrender the North. I will ask for dragonglass and an alliance. Nothing more. Noi, Gara. And if she demands Rhaegal, he will choose. The answer did not please Sansa. It did not entirely please Jon. They departed at dawn. Rhaegal's shadow crossed the fields as men gathered outside the gate. Jon wore black leather fur and a cloak fastened with the silver direwolf Sansa had made for him. Longclaw hung at his side. Davos climbed reluctantly into a leather harness secured behind Jon. I have survived the Blackwater, a siege, and a murderous shadow, Davos muttered. It seems greed to ask the gods for more. Tormund grinned from the ground. If you fall, I will tell everyone you screamed beautifully. I will haunt you. Good. The nights are lonely. Jon looked towards Sansa. She stood beneath the gate with Brienne of Tarth behind her. The dragon's wind pulled strands of red hair loose around her face. Rule until I return, Jon said. I have been ruling while you fly. I noticed. Her expression softened for one heartbeat. Come back. Jon nodded. Rhaegal launched. The north fell beneath them. They crossed leagues in hours that would have required weeks on horseback. White fields became forests, forests became hills, and hills became the green riverlands scarred by war. Small folk abandoned roads when the dragon's shadow passed. Soldiers scattered from camps. Bells rang in towns long after Rhaegal had vanished southward. Jon felt the air grow warmer. The change unsettled him. Winter had claimed the north so completely that the softer wind felt almost false. They slept one night in the ruins of a hilltop holdfast. Rhaegal curled around the walls, while Jon and Davos ate cold meat beside a small fire. Have you considered what happens if she is right? Davos asked. About what? The dragon. He is not property. Kings and queens have called stranger things property. Jon stared into the fire. Davos continued. You may believe the creature chose you. She may believe she raised it, loved it, and brought it back from stone. Both can be true. What would you have me say? The truth. Which truth? That you did not seek this. That you will not give him up. That you need her help. Preferably in that order. Jon looked toward Rhaegal. One golden eye opened in the darkness. And if the truth is not enough, then we discover whether dragons settle arguments better than men. They reached the sea at midday. Jon had never seen it from such a height. It stretched like hammered silver beneath the clouds, without road, tree, or boundary. Rhaegal's joy surged through him. The dragon had known these winds before. He turned east without prompting. Dragonstone appeared near sunset. Its towers rose above black cliffs, while waves shattered white against the shore. Two shapes lifted from the island. Drogon came first. He was larger than Rhaegal, black scales edged in crimson, wings broad enough to swallow the fading sun. Viserion followed, pale gold against the darkening sky. Rhaegal cried out. The answering roars struck Jon like physical blows. The three dragons circled one another above the sea. Their calls carried recognition, challenge, and relief. Jon felt Rhaegal's bond with them, clutchmates born in the same fire, separated but never forgotten. Then Drogon turned toward Jon. The black dragon approached until Jon saw flames flicker behind his teeth. Rhaegal placed himself between them. The movement was unmistakable. Drogon roared. Rhaegal answered. For one terrible moment, Jon believed the sky would ignite. A figure stood upon Drogon's back. Silver hair streamed behind her. She wore black and red, her posture straight despite the wind. Her hands rested against the ridges of the dragon's neck. Daenerys? Jon felt Rhaegal's memory of her. Warmth, command, sorrow, the scent of smoke. A small hand touching scales when he had been no larger than a cat. The emotion nearly drove Jon from the saddle. Rhaegal loved her, yet he did not move aside. Daenerys stared across the space between dragons. Jon could not read her face. She turned Drogon toward the island. Rhaegal followed. They descended upon the stone causeway leading to the castle. Unsullied soldiers formed ranks along both sides. Dothraki riders waited beyond them, horses barely controlled in the dragon's presence. Tyrion stood with Missandei, Grey Worm, Jorah, and Varys. Drogon landed beside the steps. Daenerys dismounted, without assistance. Rhaegal settled opposite him. Jon climbed down, then helped Davos from the harness. The old knight fell to his knees and kissed the stone. I have never loved an island so deeply, he said. Jon approached the queen. She was younger than he had expected, though there was nothing young in her gaze. Her eyes moved over his face, his sword, his cloak, and finally the dragon behind him. Rhaegal lowered his head near Jon's shoulder. Daenerys saw it. Pain flickered across her expression before iron concealed it. You are Jon Snow. I am, and that is my dragon. Jon glanced at Rhaegal. He has his own name. I gave him that name. So I have learned. Her gaze sharpened. Did he tell you? Not in words. No. Dragons rarely trouble themselves with words. Drogon moved behind her, black head rising. Rhaegal's wings shifted. Every soldier on the causeway became very still. Jon stopped an arm's length from Daenerys. I did not take him from you. You ride him. He came to me. Across half the world. Yes. Why? Jon thought of Bran, Lyanna, Rhaegar, and the name he had rejected beside the fire. I hoped you might tell me. Daenerys studied him for a long moment. Then she turned toward the castle. Come inside, she said. We have much to discuss. Daenerys did not begin with the dead. She began with the north. The throne room of Dragonstone had been carved rather than built, its walls rising like black blades around a jagged seat of stone. No banners softened the chamber. No tapestries hid the volcanic rock. The place seemed made for truths too severe to survive elsewhere. Jon stood before the throne while Davos remained several steps behind him. Tyrion took his place beside Daenerys. Grey Worm and the Queen's blood riders lined the walls. You were declared king by men who swore allegiance to my family, Daenerys said. Those men are dead. Their houses remain. They bent the knee after conquest. The North did not choose Targaryen rule, nor did it choose the rule of the Andals before them, or the first men before that. Every kingdom is built upon someone's defeat. Jon met her gaze. Then perhaps the old defeats should not decide who kneels now. Tyrion looked down, perhaps hiding amusement. Daenerys leaned forward. You arrived upon my island riding a dragon I raised from birth, and now you lecture me about conquest. I came because the dead are marching south. You have said that twice. I will say it until you understand. Her expression cooled. And I will tell you that Cersei sits upon my throne with armies gathered against me. Cersei will not matter if the dead cross the wall. Convenient. Jon felt heat rise in him. Rhaegal shifted outside, sensing it. You think I crossed half the realm to invent enemies for you? I think men use fear to gain what they cannot earn through loyalty. I ask for dragonglass, not your crown. You ask for my armies and my dragons. I ask you to defend the realm you mean to rule. The words echoed through the chamber. Davos closed his eyes briefly. Daenerys descended one step from the throne. You speak boldly for a man surrounded by my soldiers. I have been surrounded by enemies before, and killed by allies, according to Lord Varys. Jon glanced toward the eunuch. Varys inclined his head apologetically. Daenerys continued. Your own men murdered you, yet you expect me to believe they now follow you willingly. They follow because I told them the truth. What truth? That winter is here. Daenerys came down another step. Bend the knee. Name me your queen. I will confirm you as Warden of the North, allow you to mine the dragon glass, and consider sending aid once Cersei is defeated. No time. The refusal landed harder than a shouted challenge. Grey Worm's hand moved toward his weapon. Rhaegal growled outside. Drogon answered. The sound rolled through the floor. Daenerys stopped on the final step. You refuse quickly. I was chosen to protect the North. I cannot give it away. You accepted a crown but reject the obligations of the realm. The realm abandoned the North. My father answered when your grandfather called. Your father burned mine. Tyrion spoke before Daenerys could. Perhaps we need not resolve a century of grievances before supper. Jon's gaze remained on the Queen. He had not meant to speak of Rickard. He had never known the man. Yet the old crime stood between them, part of every northern memory of Targaryen rule. Daenerys' face had gone still. I am not my father. No, Jon said. You are not. Something in his answer disarmed her more than accusation would have. He continued. And I am not the men who rebelled against him. We can choose what we are now. Tyrion stepped forward. The dragon glass costs us nothing. Allow him to mine it. His people can arm themselves against this enemy, real or imagined, while we continue our war. Daenerys looked toward him. You believe his story? I believe he believes it. I also believe a man who rides a dragon deserves slightly more consideration than the average northern madman. Jon ignored the phrase. Daenerys looked past him toward the archway. Rhaegal rested his head upon the stone outside, watching her. Drogon stood nearby, black tail striking the ground. Viserion perched higher on the battlement. For the first time, Jon saw the cost of Rhaegal's choice reflected openly in her face. You may mine the dragon glass, she said. Your men may remain as guests. You will not leave the island without speaking to me again. Menche, I did not come as your prisoner. If you were my prisoner, you would know it. Jon felt Rhaegal rise. The dragon's head lifted above the arch. Daenerys heard the scrape of scales. So would you, Jon said. Grey Worm drew his spear halfway free. Davos moved closer to Jon. Tyrion rubbed his brow. This meeting has gone remarkably well by the standards of my family. Daenerys raised one hand. Grey Worm stilled. You are free to move about the island, she said. But Rhaegal remains here. Jon almost laughed at the impossibility of the command. He will remain if he wishes. He belongs with his brothers. He may agree. And if he does not, then he does not. Their eyes held. Daenerys turned sharply and left the chamber. The dragonglass mines lay beneath the mountain. Jon entered them the following morning with Davos, several northern men, and guides from the island. Black glass gleamed in enormous seams along the walls, more than the North could use in a generation. He sent a raven to Sansa before noon. Mining began that afternoon. For 3 days, Jon saw little of Daenerys. She held councils, received envoys, and planned her campaign against Cersei. Drogon and Viserion hunted along the coast. Rhaegal remained near Jon. Yet each night, The green dragon climbed to the highest tower and called across the island. Daenerys answered him from the terrace. Jon did not hear words. He felt yearning pass through the bond like heat through steel. Rhaegal remembered her hands, her voice, and the first sky above Meereen. He wanted to be near her. He also wanted Jon. The two bonds did not cancel one another. They pulled in different ways. On the fourth evening, Jon found Daenerys beside Rhaegal on the beach. She stood with one palm against the dragon's muzzle. Rhaegal's eyes were closed. The setting sun turned her hair to silver fire. Jon stopped at the edge of the sand. She knew he was there but did not move. He was the smallest when they were born, she said. Viserion ate first. Drogon fought first. Rhaegal watched. Jon approached slowly. He still watches. He used to sleep around my shoulders. Jon looked at the dragon's immense neck. That would be difficult now. A hint of a smile touched her mouth, then vanished. I dreamed of finding others like me, she said. When I was a girl, Viserys told me we were the last dragons. He made it sound like a crown. It felt more like a sentence. Jon stood beside her. I know something of being the last. You have a sister, a brother, cousins. She turned toward him. The change in her expression was small, but he saw it. Cousins. Jon had not intended to reveal the truth so soon. Yet every conversation with Daenerys seemed to strip plans from him. The man I called my father was my uncle. Rhaegal opened his eyes. Daenerys' hand remained against his scales. Who was your father? Jon looked toward the sea. He could lie. He had protected the secret at Bran's urging while traveling south. Sansa had told him to guard it until he understood the Queen's intentions. But Ned's lie had lasted a lifetime. Jon suddenly had no strength for another. Rhaegar. Daenerys went motionless. Waves moved behind them. No. My mother was Lyanna. They were married. No. Bran saw it. Sam found a record at the Citadel. No. She stepped away from Rhaegal. My brother died at the Trident. Before I was born. He had 2 children. Their marriage was annulled. According to the record, Daenerys stared at Jon as though his face had become that of a stranger. He felt her calculations begin despite her shock. Rhaegar's lawful son, a male heir, a dragonrider, a king already acclaimed by one of the 7 kingdoms. Everything she had crossed the world to claim could gather around Jon without his asking. What name were you given? She asked. Jon. That is not what I asked. He hesitated. Aegon Dort. Daenerys turned away. Rhaegal lifted his head between them. Jon could feel the dragon's confusion. 2 sources of blood, grief, and belonging stood divided at his feet. I do not want the Iron Throne, Jon said. Daenerys laughed once, without humor. Men who want crowns often say the opposite. I have 1 crown too many. You expect me to trust that? I expect nothing. You arrive with my brother's name, my family's blood, and one of my dragons. You refuse to bend the knee. You speak of an enemy only you have seen. Yet you expect nothing. No. Now, Jon's anger stirred. I did not choose my birth. Neither did I. No. But you chose to come here, to reclaim what was stolen. And if it was never yours, the instant the words left him, he regretted them. Drogon roared from the cliffs. Rhaegal's head snapped toward the sound. Daenerys' face changed. Hurt became fury. You should take care. So should you. Fire shone beneath Rhaegal's scales. Daenerys looked at the dragon, then back at Jon. For a terrible heartbeat he thought she might call Drogon. Instead, she walked away along the shore. Jon watched her until she vanished beneath the castle gate. Rhaegal remained between land and sea, facing neither of them. That night, Tyrion came to Jon's chamber carrying wine. I assume you told her. Jon admitted him. You knew? I suspected after seeing Rhaegal defend you from Drogon. Dragons have better genealogists than the Citadel. Jon sat beside the narrow window. She believes I mean to take the throne. Do you? No. Truly? Yes. Tyrion poured 2 cups. That may not save either of you. I cannot be forced to claim something. You can be forced to become a symbol. Symbols are far less obedient than men. Jon accepted the wine, but did not drink. What would you advise? As her hand or as a man hoping the dead do not consume us all? Both. Tyrion considered. Show her the enemy. Not with stories, not with drawings. Give her proof. Jon thought of the lands beyond the wall and the army moving through them. The last time we sought proof, men died. More will die if she does not believe you. Jon looked into the dark cup. Somewhere beyond the mountain, 3 dragons called to one another beneath the stars. Jon did not take Daenerys beyond the wall to capture a dead man. He took her beneath Dragonstone first. The ancient carvings lay deeper than the main dragonglass seam, hidden behind a wall broken by miners. Davos found Jon at breakfast with dust still on his cloak and insisted the queen be told before some overeager workman destroyed the chamber. Daenerys entered the caves with a torch in one hand and suspicion in her eyes. Jon led her through narrow passages where black glass caught the flame and multiplied it into 1,000 reflections. The air smelled of salt and old stone. Water moved somewhere beneath their feet. They reached the hidden cavern near midday. Spirals covered the walls. Not decorative spirals cut by Valyrian masons, but ancient marks scratched and painted by the children of the forest. Figures stood among them, small beings with leaf-shaped faces, tall men carrying spears, and pale shapes with blue eyes. Daenerys stepped closer. "The dead," Jon said. She touched one painted figure with 2 fingers. "How old?" "Thousands of years. And they fought together. The children and the first men. Enemies before that." "Yes." She looked at him. The torchlight softened the severity of her face. "You arranged this." Jon almost smiled. "I did not carve a cavern to win an argument. Men have built stranger monuments to pride. I have not had the time." Her mouth moved as though resisting a smile of her own. Jon pointed toward the painted army. "The Night King does not care who has the better claim. He does not care whose father killed whose family. Every man who falls becomes one more soldier for him." Daenerys studied the figures. "You truly believe this?" "I have looked into his eyes." Silence gathered between them. At last she asked, "What did you see?" "Nothing." "That frightened you?" "There was no anger in him, no mercy, no hunger as we understand it. Only an end." Daenerys turned the torch slowly, revealing more of the carved wall. "I have spent my life fighting men who wanted to own me, use me, or kill me. I understood them. Even my father, though I never knew him, can be explained by fear and madness. This cannot." "No!" Jon leaned against the stone. "We do not need to like one another." She looked over her shoulder. "I did not know we had decided we did not. You nearly threatened me with Drogon. You questioned my right to the throne. Was I wrong?" "Yes." He could not help it. A tired laugh escaped him. Daenerys' brows rose. "You find that amusing?" "I find you certain. I crossed a desert, survived assassins, and took cities. Certainty was often all I had." Jon looked at the ancient images. "Certainty gets men killed in the north. So does hesitation." The torch crackled. For a time they stood without speaking. Rhaegal waited beyond the cave entrance. Through the bond, Jon felt the dragon's calm. Drogon rested nearby. Their shared presence was like distant thunder beneath his thoughts. Daenerys moved closer to the carved alliance. "What do you propose?" Jon had prepared the answer. "We fly north. You see the army. We return before it reaches the wall." "With all 3 dragons?" "Yes." "You expect me to abandon my campaign?" "For days. Cersei gathers strength with every day. The dead gather bodies. You always return to that." until they are gone. She lifted the torch, studying Jon rather than the wall. And when I have seen them, we fight together. Us allies. Yes. Not queen and subject. No. Her eyes hardened slightly. Jon continued before she could refuse. You asked why Rhaegal chose me. Perhaps blood explains it, perhaps not. But he has chosen. We cannot undo that. We can decide whether it divides us. Daenerys looked toward the cave mouth, where a green eye reflected torchlight. He still loves me. I know. How? I feel it. Pain moved across her face again. Quieter this time. Then you know what losing him felt like. Jon considered the bond. Rhaegal's joy in flight, anger at separation, warmth in sleep. Yes, you have known him for weeks. Time does not always measure loss. She understood that. He saw it. Daenerys lowered the torch. We fly north tomorrow. The War Council argued for 3 hours. Tyrion opposed the journey because it placed the Queen and all her dragons at risk. Varys opposed it because Cersei's spies would report their absence. Grey Worm wanted the Unsullied move toward the Riverlands before winter closed the roads. Jorah alone supported Daenerys immediately. If the dead are real, he said, every other war must wait. Tyrion paced around the painted table. And if the Night King kills one of the dragons? Daenerys glanced at Jon. He saw such a thing in a dream. Bran saw it, Jon said. Not which dragon, not when. Wonderful. Tyrion muttered. Our plan rests upon the visions of a boy who spends his days speaking to trees. Bran does not guess. No, he merely offers disasters without useful dates. Davos placed a carved black piece at Eastwatch. We do not fly directly above the army. We observe from a distance. If we find proof, we return. Men. Benrush. Why? Face. What proof? Varys asked. Numbers, Jon said. Direction, the White Walkers themselves. And if the Queen sees nothing, then she has lost 3 days. Tyrion looked at Daenerys. You cannot risk yourself. I have never asked others to face danger while I remain behind. You are not merely another soldier. No, I have dragons. So did your ancestors. Several died because they believed that made them invincible. Drogon's roar shook dust from the ceiling. Tyrion looked upward. I assume he disagrees. Daenerys placed both hands upon the table. I will go. Grey Worm will continue preparations against Cersei. Tyrion will remain to govern in my absence. Jorah and Davos will accompany us as far as Eastwatch. Jon glanced at Davos. The old knight looked betrayed. I have become too old for the sky. You flew south, Jon said. I hoped it was a singular lapse in judgment. They departed before dawn. Davos rode behind Jon once more. Jorah rode with Daenerys upon Drogon, though the Black Dragon tolerated the additional passenger poorly. Viserion flew without a rider. The journey north took less than 2 days. They followed the King's Road above a land Jon barely recognized. Winter had deepened during his absence. Rivers narrowed beneath ice. Abandoned farms lay under snow. In villages, people emerged to watch the dragons pass, some kneeling, others fleeing. Daenerys said little during their stops. On the first night, they sheltered within the ruins of Harrenhal. The dragons perched upon blackened towers melted by Balerion 3 centuries earlier. Daenerys walked among the twisted stones with a strange expression. My family did this, she said. Aegon's dragon. At his command. Jon looked up at Rhaegal. A sword does not choose where it cuts. A dragon does. Yes. She faced him. Is that meant as a warning? For both of us. Moonlight silvered her hair. You think I will burn cities? I think anger makes certainty easy. And you think yourself free of anger? No. That answer quieted her. They continued at sunrise. At Winterfell, Sansa received Daenerys beneath the gate with northern lords gathered behind her. The dragons landed beyond the walls to spare the castle further damage. Jon dismounted and approached his cousin. Sansa embraced him quickly, then stepped back to examine Daenerys. "Your Grace," she said without kneeling. "Lady Sansa." The courtesy between them had edges. Bran waited in the great hall. Daenerys entered beneath the stares of men who had lost kin to her father or grandfather. Some looked at her silver hair with hatred. Others looked beyond the windows at the dragons and remembered caution. Jon presented Bran. "You are the one who sees the dead," Daenerys said. "I see many things. Can you show me?" "Not as I see them." "Then tell me where they are." "Near the fist of the first men, moving east." "Toward Eastwatch?" "Yes." "How many?" Bran's eyes seemed to lose focus. "Too many to count. Giants, bears, horses, men from every tribe that has died beyond the wall." Daenerys' composure did not break, but Jon saw her fingers tighten around the back of a chair. "And the Night King?" "He rides at the center. He watches the sky." Jon felt Rhaegal's alarm. "What does he know?" he asked. "That you are coming." The hall went silent. Daenerys looked at Jon. "How?" "He has touched me before," Bran said. "He can see fragments through the mark he left." "Then this may be a trap," Jorah warned. "It is," Bran said. Sansa stepped forward. "You cannot go." Jon looked at her. "You brought the queen here," she continued. "She has heard Bran. That should be enough." "It is not," Daenerys said. Sansa's gaze shifted to her. "You believe him?" "I believe he believes it." "That was not my question." Daenerys looked toward the northern windows. "I crossed the world for a throne. I will not turn my armies toward stories without seeing their truth." "Nah." Sansa's expression became cold. "And if your need for proof costs us the dragons, then your king should not have invited me." Jon moved between them. "We go to Eastwatch, not beyond it, until scouts return." Bran looked at him. "You will go beyond." "Why?" "Because you will see what the Night King wants you to see." "What is that?" Bran's face remained empty of fear. "The end of the wall." They reached Eastwatch the following afternoon. Tormund greeted Jon with an embrace, Daenerys with an appreciative stare, and the dragons with reverence. "The Green One remembers me," he claimed. Rhaegal showed no sign of it. From the top of the wall, the world beyond appeared empty. Snowfields stretched toward distant mountains beneath a cloudless blue sky. The silence was so complete that even Daenerys seemed unsettled. Then a black line appeared on the horizon. It moved. Not an army marching in formation, but a stain spreading across the land. The dead had come within sight of the wall. Daenerys stood beside Jon at the edge, silver hair lifting in the wind. "How many?" she whispered. Jon had no answer. The line reached from mountain to mountain. At its center, mounted upon a dead horse, a pale figure raised his face. Even from miles away, Jon felt the Night King's gaze find him. Rhaegal screamed below. The dead stopped. Every corpse turned toward the wall at once. Daenerys stepped back. For the first time since Jon had met her, certainty abandoned her face. Daenerys believed. Jon saw the moment the last resistance left her. It was not the number of the dead, though their army covered the snow like a second night. It was not the giants walking among them, nor the great white bear with half its body stripped to bone. It was the silence. An army of that size should have filled the land with voices, hoofbeats, armor, and fear. The dead made almost no sound. They waited beneath the wall with heads lifted, tens of thousands of blue eyes fixed upon the living above. Daenerys stepped away from the edge. We returned to Winterfell. Jon looked at her. You have seen enough? Yes. The Night King raised one hand. The dead began to move east. Not toward the wall. Away from it. Bran's warning returned to Jon. You will see what the Night King wants you to see. They are withdrawing, Jorah said. Tormund spat over the edge. Dead things don't fear walls. They fear dragons, one of the brothers said. Jon did not believe it. The Night King had looked at the sky before the dragons reached Eastwatch. He had allowed the army to be seen. Now he was leading them toward the frozen coast, where the wall ended at cliffs and sea. He wants us to follow, Jon said. Daenerys turned. Then we do not. Daughter. A cry rose from the forest below. A horn sounded beyond the gate. One blast, then two. A ranger returning. Men hurried down the steps. Jon and the others followed. The gate opened only far enough to admit a single horse. It staggered through trailing blood from wounds along its flank. The rider fell before anyone reached him. He wore the black. Tormund knelt beside him. Where are the others? The ranger's lips had gone blue. The bay, he whispered. They're taking the bay. What bay? Sealskin Point, Iar. Thousands walking under the ice. Men. Jon understood. The dead did not need to break the wall if the sea itself froze hard enough to carry them around it. How far? He asked. Half a day. The ranger seized Jon's sleeve. They have chains. Then he died. Daenerys looked toward the eastern horizon. What chains? Jon remembered Bran's vision of a dead dragon. No. He ran. Rhaegal was already rising from the yard. Jon climbed without waiting for the harness. Daenerys shouted his name, but Drogon had begun to move beneath her. Jorah caught the saddle strap behind her. Viserion launched from the wall. Tormund and Davos remained at Eastwatch. The dragons flew east. The cold sharpened above the coast. Snow clouds formed with unnatural speed, swallowing the sun. Jon felt Rhaegal's unease as the dragon entered them. They emerged over a frozen bay. The dead covered the shore. Thousands stood upon the ice, spreading chains across its surface. At the center of the bay was a dark shape trapped beneath frozen water. A mammoth. No, larger. Jon's stomach tightened. A dead sea creature, perhaps a whale, lay beneath the ice. Chains had been fixed around it. The corpses were dragging it toward a fissure running beneath the cliffs. What are they doing? Jorah shouted from Drogon. Daenerys looked toward the Night King. He stood upon the shore with 4 White Walkers. The Pale King raised his hand. The ice split. A sound like the breaking of the world rolled across the bay. Water surged upward. The chained corpse was pulled into the fissure, smashing apart the shelf near the base of the wall. The dead were not merely walking around it. They were weakening the foundation where ice met sea. Jon leaned forward. Rhaegal descended. Daenerys called out, but the wind tore away her words. Green fire struck the shore. The dead ignited in a line hundreds of feet long. Rhaegal banked, flame pouring from his jaws. Drogon followed, black wings blotting out the sky as his fire shattered the frozen ranks. Viserion swept toward the chains. The army broke its silence. 1,000 voices screamed through dead throats. Jon felt triumph flash from Rhaegal, then terror. The Night King carried a spear of translucent ice. He had not forged it in haste. He had been waiting with it. Viserion passed overhead. The Night King drew back his arm. Jon saw Bran's vision become real. "Turn!" he shouted. Rhaegal responded before the thought had fully formed. The green dragon threw himself sideways, crossing the space between the Night King and Viserion. The spear left the pale hand. It flew with impossible speed. Jon saw its point strike Rhaegal beneath the right wing. The world twisted. Rhaegal's roar tore the sky apart. Pain entered Jon like molten iron. He lost his grip. The dragon rolled, wings beating without rhythm. Jon slid between the spines and caught a leather strap with one hand. Below them, the frozen bay rushed upward. "Rhaegal!" The dragon could not answer. His mind was fire, shock, and falling. Drogon struck the shore with a torrent of flame. Daenerys screamed from his back. The Night King vanished behind burning corpses. Rhaegal's wounded wing folded. Jon climbed toward the dragon's neck while the world spun. He pressed both hands against the scales. Not down. The thought was desperate, useless. Not here. Rhaegal opened his wings. The injured membrane tore around the spear. Wind caught beneath it. Their fall became a glide. They struck the ice. Rhaegal's claws carved trenches through the frozen surface. One wing collapsed. Jon was thrown over the dragon's shoulder and rolled until his back struck a ridge. For several breaths, he could neither see nor breathe. Then the dead began running toward them. Jon forced himself upright. Longclaw remained at his hip. He drew it. Rhaegal struggled to rise. The ice spear protruded through his wing where it joined the body. Frost spread from the wound, turning green scales white. Jon climbed onto the dragon's shoulder. Fire! Rhaegal's throat glowed. A weak stream of flame consumed the first ranks of corpses. More came behind them. Viserion landed nearby. The pale dragon snapped at dead men, scattering bodies. Drogon descended with Daenerys upon his back. "Get on!" she shouted. Jon looked at Rhaegal. "I will not leave him. He cannot fly." Rhaegal roared and forced himself onto 3 legs. Daenerys turned Drogon. Black fire struck the approaching dead. Jorah slid from the saddle and landed beside Jon. We removed the spear. The ice around it had spread across Rhaegal's side. Jon seized the shaft. Cold burned through his gloves. Rhaegal shrieked and nearly crushed them beneath his wing. "Hold him!" Jorah shouted. Jon placed his forehead against the dragon's scales. He sent every feeling he could through the bond. Trust, sky, Winterfell. The warmth of the godswood. Rhaegal stilled. Jorah gripped the shaft beside Jon. Together they pulled. The spear came free in a burst of black blood and shattered ice. Rhaegal's pain blinded Jon. He fell to one knee. Daenerys leapt from Drogon and pressed both hands against the wound. Fire seals their flesh. Fire will kill him. He is fire. She looked toward Viserion. Dracarys. The pale dragon released a narrow stream of flame. Rhaegal's wing burned. Jon felt the agony as though his own flesh had caught. He screamed with the dragon. The frozen corruption melted from the wound. Blood hissed against the ice. The dead closed around them. Drogon turned in a circle, laying a wall of fire across the bay. The flames drove the whites back, but did not stop the White Walkers. 3 pale figures advanced through the burning line. Jon raised Longclaw. Jorah drew Heartsbane. Daenerys stood between the wounded dragon and the dead, a dragonglass dagger in her hand. "You should return to Drogon," Jon said. "I will not leave him." The words were his own answer returned. One of the White Walkers stepped through the flames. Its armor resembled black ice. A curved blade formed in its hand. Jorah charged first. Their weapons met with a sound like a frozen lake splitting. Heartsbane held. The walker turned, impossibly fast, but Jon struck from the side. Longclaw passed through its chest. The creature shattered. Every white it had raised collapsed. A path opened across the ice. "No!" Jon shouted. Rhaegal dragged his injured wing against his body. He could not fly, but he could run. Daenerys mounted Drogon. Jorah climbed behind her. Viserion took to the air, burning a road toward the cliffs. Jon climbed onto Rhaegal's back. The dragon gathered himself and charged across the bay. Each stride drove pain through the bond. Jon leaned low, urging him onward. Behind them, the Night King emerged from the flames. He carried another spear. Jon looked back. The Pale King did not aim at Rhaegal. He aimed at Drogon. Jon shouted a warning. Daenerys turned at the last instant. Drogon rolled. The spear passed beneath his wing and struck Viserion's tail. The pale dragon faltered but remained aloft. Rhaegal reached broken ground near the cliffs. He climbed with claws and sheer fury. The dead followed, but Viserion's fire swept across them. At the summit, Rhaegal collapsed. Jon slid to the ground. The Night King stood far below, blue eyes fixed upon him. No dragon had died, yet the attack had not failed. The fissure beneath the wall had widened. Seawater surged into it, black and violent. Dead giants dragged chains toward the crack. Daenerys landed beside Jon. "We must go," she said. "Rhaegal cannot fly." Drogon lowered himself. Jon understood. Together, they secured Rhaegal between Drogon and Viserion, using the dead army's abandoned chains. It was a desperate construction, more sling than harness. The two dragons rose with enormous effort, carrying their wounded brother beneath them. Jon rode upon Drogon behind Daenerys. It was the first time he had flown without Rhaegal since the bond formed. The absence felt like a missing limb. They reached Eastwatch after dark. Men gathered on the wall as Drogon and Viserion lowered Rhaegal into the courtyard. The green dragon lay unmoving, breath shallow, scorched wing curled against his side. Daenerys knelt beside his head. Jon knelt opposite her. Rhaegal opened one eye. His pain belonged to both of them now. Daenerys looked across the dragon at Jon. "He chose you," she said quietly. Jon placed his palm against the warm scale. "He never stopped choosing you." Something changed between them then. Not surrender. Not forgiveness. Recognition. The wall groaned beneath their feet. From the eastern sea came the sound of ice breaking. Eastwatch did not fall that night. The wall cracked. A section near the frozen bay sank several feet as seawater undermined the foundation. But the ancient ice held. Men lowered barrels of pitch into the fissure and ignited them. Drogon and Viserion burned the dead who attempted to climb through. By dawn, the army had withdrawn beyond the range of arrows. The living had won hours, perhaps days. Rhaegal could not remain at Eastwatch. His wound no longer froze, but the torn wing required rest, warmth, and more skill than the brothers possessed. Daenerys refused to leave him. Jon refused as well. They transported the dragon south in stages. Drogon and Viserion carried him beyond the range of the dead. From there, teams of horses pulled an enormous wooden platform built beneath Rhaegal's body. The journey to Winterfell took 9 days. Every mile carried news ahead of them. The Queen had seen the dead. The dragons had fought beyond the wall. Jon's dragon had taken an ice spear meant for another. By the time Winterfell's towers appeared, the North had begun gathering for war. Rhaegal was placed in the Godswood, where the hot springs beneath the castle warmed the earth. Smiths constructed supports for his injured wing. Kuhono's Dothraki horse healers knew more of great animals than any maester, while Daenerys remembered techniques used in Meereen when Drogon had been wounded by spears. Jon slept beside Rhaegal for 3 nights. He dreamed of the dragon's pain. He woke when Rhaegal woke and ate only when the dragon accepted food. The bond that had once filled him with freedom now taught him a harsher truth. Love granted joy and made suffering impossible to escape. On the 4th morning, Jon opened his eyes to find Daenerys seated near Rhaegal's head. Snow drifted through red leaves above her. She wore a white fur cloak over black wool. One hand rested upon the dragon's scales. "How long have you been here?" Jon asked. "Long enough to hear you speak in your sleep." He sat up against a root. "What did I say?" "Nothing understandable." "That is fortunate. For you, perhaps." Rhaegal opened one golden eye. Daenerys smiled at him. It was not the smile of a queen before subjects. It was the expression of the young woman who had carried 3 newly hatched dragons into a hostile world. "He is stronger," she said. Jon felt it too. The fever had broken. The wings still ached, but the corruption from the spear was gone. "He may fly again." "He will." Her certainty did not irritate him this time. Daenerys looked toward Jon. "You saved Viserion." Rhaegal did. "You turned him. We moved together. You could have fled upon Drogon. So could you." She lowered her eyes. "I thought I had lost him. Again." Jon understood she meant more than Rhaegal. She had lost brothers, a husband, a child, friends, cities, and people who had once lifted her above their shoulders. She had crossed the sea expecting home and found another battlefield. "You did not," he said. "No." Footsteps approached along the frozen path. Sansa entered the Godswood. She stopped when she saw them seated together. "The council is waiting," she said. "For me?" Jon asked. "For both of you." Daenerys rose. Sansa's gaze moved to Rhaegal, then to the Queen's hand leaving his scales. "The lords have heard rumors," she continued. "Some from Eastwatch, others from the Citadel. May." Jon stood slowly. "What rumors?" "About your father." The warmth left the Godswood. Sam had arrived the previous night with Gilly and their son, exhausted from the road. Jon had embraced him in the courtyard and postponed every serious conversation until morning. Now he found Sam in the Great Hall holding a weathered book. Northern lords filled the benches. Vale knights stood near the walls. Tyrion, Varys, Davos, Jorah, Grey Worm, Missandei, Tormund, Brienne, and Arya Stark had gathered near the high table. Arya had returned while Jon was away. Their reunion had lasted only minutes before Rhaegal's condition demanded him, but seeing her face again had restored something in him that death and war had nearly erased. Bran sat beneath the Stark banners. Sansa took her place at the head of the table. Jon remained standing. "What has happened?" he asked. Lord Glover spoke first. "We have heard the Dragon Queen means to command our armies." Murmurs followed. Daenerys entered behind Jon. Every voice died. She walked to the table but did not sit. "No command has been given," she said. "You call yourself Queen of the 7 Kingdoms," Lord Royce replied. "The North is one of them." "The dead are coming," Jon said. "We will settle crowns after they are defeated." Lyanna rose from her bench. "Crowns decide who commands during the battle." Jon looked toward her. "I command the Northern Army." "And her?" Daenerys answered. "I command mine." "What of the dragons?" another lord asked. "Drogon and Viserion follow me." "And Rhaegal?" All eyes turned to Jon. "He follows himself," Jon said. "That is not an answer," Glover replied. "It's the truest one you will hear." Sam shifted uneasily. Jon saw the book in his hands. "What did you find?" Sam looked toward Sansa, then Bran. "I found a record in the Citadel, a private journal kept by High Septon Maynard. He annulled Rhaegar's marriage to Elia Martell and performed another ceremony in Dorne. The lords listened without understanding." Jon's heartbeat slowed. Sam continued. "Rhaegar married Lyanna. Their son was legitimate." Silence. No one moved. Lord Royce looked from Sam to Jon. "What son?" Bran answered. "Jon." A whisper passed through the hall like wind through dry grass. Daenerys closed her eyes. She had known. Yet knowledge shared between 2 people was different from truth spoken before a kingdom. Glover rose. "The king is a Targaryen. He's the son of Lyanna," Sansa said. "He is blood of the North, and heir to the Iron Throne," Varys murmured. Tyrion shot him a warning look. Too late. The words spread. Heir, Iron Throne, true king. Jon felt the room turning him into something else. "I do not claim the Southern Throne," he said. Lord Royce ignored the denial. The line passes through Rhaegar before Daenerys. Grey Worm stepped forward. Jorah placed a hand near his sword. Northern men rose from benches. Jon slammed his palm against the table. "Sit down!" The command carried the authority of the Night's Watch, the battlefield, and Rhaegal's roar. Men obeyed. Jon looked across the hall. The dead are at the wall. Eastwatch may fall within days. Anyone who speaks of fighting one another before the Night King is defeated will answer to me. Glover frowned. And after, I will still not want the throne. Want has nothing to do with right, Royce said. Jon turned on him. Men have murdered half the realm over that word. I will not begin another war because a book says my blood is lawful. Lyanna watched him with fierce attention. You accepted the Northern Crown. To unite the North. It is united. Then, let it remain so. Sansa spoke carefully. You cannot command people not to know. Jon looked at her. She did not appear triumphant. She appeared afraid. Daenerys stood utterly still. He approached her. I did not ask Sam to speak. No, she said. The truth rarely waits for permission. I meant what I told you. I will not challenge you. You may not need to. Her gaze swept across the lords. Some looked at her with open suspicion. Others measured Jon as though they could already see a larger crown upon his head. They will use you, she said quietly. I will refuse. They will call refusal humility. They will love you for it. I cannot control that. No. That is the danger. Rhaegal roared outside. Drogon answered from the field. The hall shook with both voices. Daenerys looked toward the windows. Do you know what I saw when Rhaegal chose you? She asked. I saw everything I had lost gathering around another person. My brother's son, my dragon, a kingdom. The love of people who have never offered me anything but fear. Jon lowered his voice. I am not your enemy. You could become one without choosing it. Then help me prevent it. How? Jon looked around the hall. Fight beside me. Let them see what you are. And what am I? A queen who came north when she did not have to. The lords heard him. Daenerys searched his face. At last, she turned toward them. My war with Cersei is suspended. Every unsullied soldier, every Dothraki rider, and every ship capable of reaching White Harbor will be committed to the defense of the North. My dragons will fight the dead. The declaration stunned the hall. She continued, I ask no kneeling before the battle. I ask only that your armies obey a single plan. Jon felt some of the tension break. Sansa did not relax. What happens after the battle? She asked. Daenerys looked at her. If we survive, we may continue this argument. Tormund laughed. Several lords joined him, uncertainly at first. Jon did not. He saw the hurt beneath Daenerys' composure and the fear beneath Sansa's questions. The army of the dead might be simpler than the living. It asked for no compromise, hid no desire, and made no claim beyond annihilation. That evening, Jon climbed the broken tower overlooking the eastern field. Daenerys found him there. Below, Dothraki camps spread beyond the walls. Unsullied formations drilled beside northern levees. Fires covered the snow like fallen stars. You defended my decision, she said. It was the right decision. You could have accepted their claim. I told you I do not want it. And I told you that may not matter. Jon leaned against the stone. What do you want from me? The question surprised her. He continued. An oath? Silence? Shall I call myself bastard again? No. Then, tell me. Daenerys approached until only a step separated them. I want to believe you. Jon looked into her violet eyes. Then believe me, that has never been easy. It is not easy for me either. Why? Because every ruler I trusted asked me to become less than I was. The Night's Watch asked me to forget my family. Stannis asked me to take a name for a price. The Northern Lords gave me a crown, then questioned every choice I made beneath it. And what do you think I ask? I don't know yet. Daenerys looked out over the camps. Perhaps I ask whether there is room in the world for both of us. Jon followed her gaze. There must be. Certainty again. Hope. She smiled faintly. Behind them, wings shifted. Rhaegal stood upon the adjacent tower. He had climbed from the God's Wood despite his injured wing. Green scales caught the moonlight. He looked first at Jon, then at Daenerys. The dragon lowered his head between them. Both placed a hand upon his scales. For one quiet moment, neither drew away. Eastwatch fell 6 days later. No dragon died to bring down the wall. The Night King used the sea. Dead giants labored within the fissure while wights packed themselves into the black water beneath the ancient ice. Their bodies froze together by the thousands, forming a bridge of flesh and frost beneath the surface. When the tide rose, the eastern foundation cracked. The wall collapsed into the bay with a sound heard as far south as Last Hearth. Tormund arrived at Winterfell 2 days afterward with fewer than half the men who had defended the castle. He entered the great hall covered in soot and frozen blood, drank an entire cup of ale without sitting, and described the dead crossing through the ruins. They don't march like an army, he said. They pour. The war council lasted until dawn. Bran placed the Night King near Last Hearth. Scouts confirmed the castle had gone silent. Refugees filled every southern road. Daenerys' forces had arrived through White Harbor. Unsullied ranks occupied the fields west of Winterfell. Dothraki camps stretched along the King's Road. Northern levies crowded every hall, stable, tower, and cellar. Jaime Lannister arrived alone. He entered Winterfell beneath a hood and presented himself before the people whose families his house had betrayed. Grey Worm wanted him imprisoned. Several northern lords demanded his execution. Brienne vouched for him. Tyrion stood beside his brother. Jon studied Jaime from the high table. The man looked older than the knight who had pushed Bran from the tower and ridden against Ned in King's Landing. Weariness had carved deep lines around his eyes. Why did you come? Jon asked. I gave my word. To the Queen? To the living? Daenerys watched him with open hatred. Jaime had killed her father. Every person in the hall knew it. He did not beg. Cersei will not send her army, Jaime said. She has hired the Golden Company. She means to let the dead weaken you, then destroy whoever survives. Tyrion's face tightened, though the news did not surprise him. Daenerys descended from the high table. My father trusted you. He trusted no one. You swore to protect him. I did. And then you put a sword through his back. Jaime met her gaze. He ordered me to kill my own father and burn 500,000 people. The hall stirred. Jon had heard the story from Jaime's enemies, never from the man himself. Daenerys stopped before him. You expect mercy because you chose which oath to break? No, I expect to fight. Do what you wish after. Jon looked toward Bran. The young man watched Jaime without anger. The things we do for love, Bran said. Jaime's face emptied of color. No one else understood. Jon did not ask. We need every sword, he said. He fights. Daenerys looked at him sharply. Jon continued. After the dead are defeated, you may judge him. If I allow him to live. If we survive. The old answer again. Daenerys stepped away. Jaime was given a dragonglass sword and placed under Brienne's command. The preparations continued. Trenches were dug beyond the walls and filled with wood, pitch, and oil. Dragonglass caltrops covered the approaches. Trebuchets were moved behind the infantry rather than in front of it at Davos' insistence. Dothraki riders received dragonglass araks, but were ordered to hold the flanks until the dead committed themselves. The crypts were reinforced, but not declared safe. Jon remembered the dead rising at Hardhome. Every ancient body beneath Winterfell was removed from open tombs, burned, and given fresh honors beneath stone slabs too heavy to lift. Some lords protested. Sansa ended the protest with a single question. Would you rather offend your grandfather or fight him? Arya oversaw the distribution of weapons. Gendry worked in the forge without sleep, hammering dragon glass into spearheads and knives. Sandor Clegane arrived with Beric Dondarrion shortly before the gates closed, both having followed the Brotherhood north. Theon Greyjoy returned with a small group of Ironborn to defend Bran in the Godswood. Jon barely slept. Rhaegal's wing had healed enough to open fully, though the scar remained pale and stiff. He tested it each morning, beating the air above the eastern field. On the final day before the dead arrived, Jon climbed onto his back. Daenerys watched from Drogon. "You are not ready," she said. Rhaegal growled. Jon felt the dragon's offense. He disagrees. He nearly died. So did I. That is not reassuring. Jon secured the straps around his legs. Rhaegal ran across the field. His first attempt ended after 3 wing beats. He landed heavily, carving trenches in the snow. Pain flashed through the bond, but it faded. He tried again. On the 4th attempt, the ground remained below them. Rhaegal climbed. The healed wing moved unevenly, yet it held. Jon laughed into the wind. The dragon's answering joy filled him. Drogon rose beside them. Daenerys guided the black dragon close enough that Jon could see relief on her face. They circled Winterfell together. Below, soldiers stopped their work to look upward. 2 riders, 2 dragons, Viserion flying freely above them. The sight sent a cheer across the fields. Jon knew cheers were fragile things. By nightfall, many of those voices would be silent. They landed near the Godswood. Bran waited beneath the weirwood. "The Night King will come for you," Jon said. "Yes. Why?" "He wants to erase the world. I am its memory." "Can he be killed with dragonfire?" "I don't know." "Can he be killed with Valyrian steel?" "I don't know." Jon's patience thinned. "What do you know?" Bran looked toward Rhaegal. "He fears what he cannot turn." "What is that?" "Choice." Jon frowned. "The dead obey," Bran said. "Dragons do not. Men do not, though kings often forget." Daenerys stood behind Jon. "Does he know our plan?" she asked. "He knows parts. Then we change it." Bran looked at her. "He will still come." "Good." She walked toward Drogon. Jon followed. Their plan placed Viserion above the western field, riderless but guided by Drogon's calls. Daenerys would patrol the southern flank. Jon would remain east, where Rhaegal's injured wing could use the prevailing wind. Neither dragon was to engage the Night King alone. The dead arrived after sunset. The first sign was not sound or movement. It was cold. Flames along the battlements shrank. Horses breathed clouds of vapor. Frost spread across armor already rimed with ice. Then blue points appeared beyond the darkness. Thousands. The dead emerged from the storm. Trebuchets fired. Burning stones arced above the field and vanished into the army. Each impact revealed brief circles of corpses before the darkness swallowed them again. The Dothraki held position. Their flaming aurex formed a long red line beside the trenches. Cuhono raised his weapon and waited for the signal. The whites reached the dragonglass caltrops. Hundreds fell. Thousands climbed over them. Jon mounted Rhaegal upon the eastern wall. Across the castle, Daenerys sat astride Drogon. They looked at one another through falling snow. Daenerys raised her hand. The trenches ignited. Fire encircled Winterfell. The dead ran into it. For a moment, they burned. Then corpses threw themselves onto the flames in heaps until the living crossed over their bodies. Jon felt Rhaegal's fury. They launched. Green fire swept the eastern flank. Drogon burned the south. Viserion followed, pale wings glowing orange above the inferno. Below, The dead reached the Unsullied. Spears struck shields. The living line bent but held. Northern archers loosed dragonglass arrows from the walls. Dothraki riders charged the flanks in disciplined waves, cutting through isolated groups before withdrawing behind the trenches. The plan worked, for perhaps 10 minutes. Then, the storm closed. Snow swallowed the battlefield. Jon could no longer see Drogon. Rhaegal climbed, but the wind drove them sideways. Dead ravens struck the dragon's face and wings, clawing at Jon's eyes. A shadow passed above. Viserion. The pale dragon flew erratically, separated from Daenerys. Jon urged Rhaegal after him. Lightning flashed blue within the storm. The Night King stood upon a ridge beyond the castle. Beside him waited a dead giant carrying an ice spear large enough to pierce a tower. Jon turned Rhaegal. The giant threw. The spear struck Viserion's chest. The pale dragon screamed. He fell toward Winterfell. Jon dived. Rhaegal caught Viserion's neck with his claws, slowing the fall. The weight tore at the injured wing. Pain exploded through them both. Drogon emerged from the storm. Daenerys saw Viserion. Her cry vanished beneath the dragon's roars. Together, Drogon and Rhaegal lowered their brother inside the castle walls. Viserion struck the courtyard and lay still. Daenerys dismounted before Drogon settled. She ran to him. Jon landed nearby. The spear had not penetrated the heart. It lodged between ribs, frost spreading around the wound. "Hold him," Daenerys said. Jon pressed himself against Viserion's neck. Rhaegal and Drogon closed around their brother, their bodies shielding him from arrows and dead ravens. Daenerys seized the spear. Together, Jon gripped it beside her. They pulled. Viserion convulsed. The spear came free. Black-red blood poured from the wound but did not freeze. The spear had been thrown by a giant, not the Night King. Its magic was weaker. Viserion breathed. Daenerys pressed her forehead to his scales. The ground shook. A dragon's roar came from beyond the walls. Not Drogon, not Rhaegal, not Viserion. Jon looked toward Bran. The boy's vision had not been prevented. It had been delayed. Above the battlefield, something enormous moved through the storm with blue fire burning inside its ruined chest. The Night King had brought another dragon. An ancient corpse pulled from beneath the ice of the far north. Smaller than Balerion, but larger than Rhaegal, its wings ragged, its bones held together by frozen magic. The dead dragon opened its jaws. Blue flames struck Winterfell's eastern wall. Stone exploded. The army of the dead poured through. The eastern wall vanished in blue fire. Men, stone, timber, and snow erupted into the courtyard. Rhaegal threw one wing over Jon and Daenerys as fragments struck his scales. Drogon roared toward the breach. The dead came through in a wave. Grey Worm rallied the Unsullied beneath the inner gate. Their spears lowered as one. The first ranks of whites shattered against dragonglass points, but corpses climbed over corpses until the line disappeared beneath them. "Get Viserion clear," Jon shouted. Daenerys climbed onto Drogon. The black dragon launched directly into the blue flames. Rhaegal followed. Jon had no time to secure the straps. He locked his legs around the dragon's neck as they rose through smoke and shattered stone. The dead dragon circled above Winterfell. Its body was a ruin. One side of its skull had been stripped to bone. Frozen light filled the empty space between its ribs. Torn wings should not have carried it, yet death held them open. No rider sat upon it. The Night King controlled it from the ground. Drogon struck first. Black jaws closed around the corpse's neck. Blue fire burst across Drogon's scales. Daenerys leaned low, gripping the spines. Rhaegal attacked the opposite wing. His teeth tore through dead membrane and bone. The taste of frozen corruption entered the bond. Jon nearly retched. The undead dragon rolled. Drogon released his hold. Rhaegal did not. They were pulled toward the walls. "Let go!" Rhaegal obeyed a heartbeat before impact. They climbed through sparks. Below, Winterfell burned. The breach had divided the defense. Unsullied held the inner gate. Northern soldiers fought in the yard. Dothraki riders swept between buildings, flames moving through snow. Sansa stood upon the battlement directing archers, while Tyrion shouted orders near the armory. In the Godswood, Bran waited. The Night King entered through the breach. Jon saw him walking beneath the chaos, untouched by fire. White walkers followed in a crescent. He turned Rhaegal downward. Daenerys saw his intent. "No!" she shouted from Drogon. Jon could not hear the word, but he read it in her face. Rhaegal dived. The dead dragon intercepted them. Its claws struck Rhaegal's chest. Jon was nearly torn from the saddle. The two beasts spun above the courtyard, green scales grinding against frozen bone. Drogon breathed fire. The blast covered both dragons. Rhaegal endured it. The dead dragon burned without falling. Its blue core brightened, feeding upon the heat. "Fire makes it stronger," Jon shouted. Daenerys pulled Drogon away. Viserion rose from the courtyard. Blood stained his pale scales, but rage carried him into the sky. He struck the dead dragon from below, driving it away from Rhaegal. The three living dragons surrounded it. Jon felt their shared instinct. Not flame. Break it. Drogon seized one wing. Viserion seized the other. Rhaegal closed his jaws around the dead dragon's spine. They pulled. Bone cracked. Frozen magic screamed through the storm. The dead dragon broke apart above Winterfell. Its skull fell into the outer yard. One wing struck a tower. The body crashed beyond the walls, scattering whites. The Night King stopped. For the first time, Jon felt something from him. Anger. The Pale King raised both arms. Every corpse upon the field rose again. Men killed minutes earlier opened blue eyes. Dead horses stood. Fallen giants moved. Beneath the inner walls, old bones missed by the clearing clawed through frozen soil. Viserion faltered. Jon felt Rhaegal's exhaustion. The injured wing could not endure much more. They descended into the Godswood. Theon and the Ironborn formed a ring around Bran. Dragonglass arrows lay spent across the snow. The dead pressed between the trees. Jon landed beyond the heart tree. Rhaegal's fire cleared a path. The Night King entered the Godswood. White walkers spread around him. Jon slid to the ground. Rhaegal tried to follow, but the dragon's wing collapsed. Jon placed a hand against his muzzle. "Stay?" The dragon snarled. "Trust me." Jon drew Longclaw. The Night King walked toward Bran. Theon raised his spear. Bran looked at him. "You are a good man." Theon charged. The Night King turned aside and shattered the spear with one movement. He struck Theon across the chest with the broken shaft, casting him into the snow. Theon did not rise. Jon ran between the trees. A White Walker blocked him. Longclaw met ice. The impact numbed Jon's arm. He turned the blade, stepped inside the creature's reach, and drove Valyrian steel through its throat. It shattered. The whites tied to it fell. Jon reached the clearing. The Night King stood before Bran. Rhaegal roared behind him. The Pale King looked toward Jon. Jon raised Longclaw. "You wanted me," he said. The Night King drew a sword of ice. Their blades met beneath the red leaves. The cold from the weapon passed through Valyrian steel and into Jon's bones. He staggered. The Night King moved without effort, each strike precise and inhumanly strong. Jon blocked once, twice, then lost his footing. The ice sword cut across his armor. He fell against a root. The Night King raised the blade. Rhaegal breathed fire. Green flame filled the clearing. Jon covered his face. The fire passed around him. When it faded, the Night King remained standing. His armor smoked. His eyes burned brighter. Rhaegal's fire could not kill him. The Pale King turned toward the dragon. The Night King lifted one hand. Rhaegal screamed. Frost spread across the dragon's wounded wing. Jon felt the bond invaded. An alien cold reaching through pain, searching for death it could command. No! He rose and struck. Longclaw cut the Night King's raised arm. The blade passed through armor and pale flesh. The severed hand shattered upon the ground. The cold gripping Rhaegal vanished. The Night King looked at the broken limb. Surprise. Jon attacked again. The Night King caught Longclaw with his remaining hand. Ice formed around the Valyrian steel. Jon could not pull free. The Pale King drew him closer. Behind the Night King, a shadow dropped from the branches. Arya. She fell with a dragonglass dagger raised. The Night King released Jon and caught her by the throat. Arya dropped the dagger. It fell toward the snow. Her free hand caught it. She drove the blade beneath his ribs. For one heartbeat, the world held still. The Night King shattered. The force threw Arya backward. Every White Walker broke into fragments. Across Winterfell, the dead collapsed. The silence afterward was absolute. Jon remained on his knees, Longclaw in his hands. Snow fell through the red leaves. Arya lay several feet away, gasping. Bran watched them. Rhaegal lowered his head. Jon rose unsteadily and reached his sister. He pulled her to her feet and held her. "You took your time," she whispered. He laughed despite everything. Then, a cry came from the courtyard. Daenerys. Jon felt Drogon's grief before he reached her. Jorah lay near the inner gate, surrounded by dead men. His armor had been pierced in a dozen places. Daenerys knelt beside him, hands pressed against wounds that no longer bled. Jorah looked at her. His lips moved. Jon did not hear the words. Daenerys bent and pressed her forehead to his. Jorah died with her name in his mouth. Grey Worm stood nearby, leaning upon a broken spear. Missandei reached him and wrapped both arms around his body. Tyrion found Jaime beneath a collapsed stair, alive but badly wounded. Brienne carried him toward the hall. Theon breathed when Jon returned to the Godswood. The broken spear had struck his armor rather than entering his heart. He woke days later with cracked ribs and no memory of falling. Viserion survived. Rhaegal survived. Drogon landed beside Daenerys and covered her with one black wing while she grieved. Dawn revealed the cost. Fields once white had turned black with ash. Half the eastern wall was gone. Thousands lay dead beyond the trenches and within the castle. The living had won. No one cheered. Jon stood upon the battlement beside Daenerys as funeral pyres were built. Her face had become still again. Not the hard stillness of Dragonstone. Something emptier. "I asked him to stay in Meereen," she said. "Jorah?" "He always returned." Jon did not offer comfort-shaped his explanation. He remained beside her. Below them, Rhaegal rested with Drogon and Viserion. The three dragons lay together, wings overlapping. "They chose," Daenerys said. Jon remembered Bran's words. "What?" "The dragons. They chose to fight for one another. Not because we commanded it. No." She looked toward him. "Perhaps rulers should learn from dragons." Jon almost smiled. "That may be the first wise thing anyone has said about ruling." Daenerys' eyes returned to the pyres. "Cersei will hear what happened." "Yes. She will believe we are weakened." "We are." "She will attack. Then we end it." Daenerys studied him. "Together?" Jon looked at the burned fields, the surviving soldiers, and the three dragons breathing beneath the winter sun. "Together." They burned the dead beneath a clear sky. The pyres stretched across the fields beyond Winterfell. Northmen lay beside Dothraki. Unsullied lay beside wildlings. Highborn knights and nameless farmers shared the same fire. Jon lit Ed's pyre. Daenerys lit Jorah's. Sansa stood before Lyanna's small bier with tears frozen upon her face. The young lady of Bear Island had died upon the eastern wall after killing a dead giant with dragon glass in her hand. Grey Worm lit the pyre of every unsullied officer who had fallen. Tormund poured ale upon the flames and called it a waste. When the fires died, the living counted what remained. Daenerys had lost nearly half the Unsullied and more than half her Dothraki riders. The North had lost entire houses. Winterfell required rebuilding before another winter storm arrived. Cersei sent no condolences. She sent demands. A raven reached Winterfell 12 days after the battle. The Queen in King's Landing offered peace if Daenerys abandoned her claim, surrendered the dragons, and delivered Tyrion for execution. Tyrion read the message aloud. Tormund laughed so hard he spilled his drink. Daenerys did not laugh. "We march south," she said. No one objected. The question was not whether Cersei would be defeated. 3 living dragons had survived the long night. The Golden Company had no weapon capable of challenging them in open ground. The question was what victory would cost. Jon found Daenerys in the Godswood on the night before departure. Rhaegal slept beneath the trees. The wound in his wing had scarred into a pale, jagged line. He would never turn as sharply as before, but he flew without pain. Daenerys stood beside the black pool. "You think I will burn the city," she said without turning. Jon approached. "Tyrion fears it. And you?" "I fear what grief asks of us." She faced him. "Jorah is dead. Missandei nearly died. My armies are broken." Cersei watched the world end from behind her walls and prepared to kill the survivors. "Tell me what mercy she deserves." "None." Daenerys' eyes narrowed. Jon continued. "The people inside those walls are not Cersei. They support her. They fear her. Fear is support when it keeps a tyrant upon a throne. Then give them something else to choose." "What? What? Life? Life, Doctor." "Oh." She looked away. Jon stepped beside her. "Take the roads. Destroy the Golden Company outside the city. Block the harbor. Offer food to anyone who opens the gates. Promise pardon to soldiers who lay down their weapons." "No." "And if Cersei refuses, she will. And if the people do not rise, then we wait. Every day gives her time to prepare scorpions. Every day shows the city which queen values their lives." Daenerys looked toward Rhaegal. "You sound like Tyrion. He will be offended." A faint smile appeared and vanished. "What if waiting costs another dragon?" Jon had no easy answer. "Then I will regret it. You ask me to risk those I love for people who may never love me." "Yes." "Why?" "Because otherwise Cersei decides what kind of queen you become." The words settled between them. Daenerys crossed the snow and placed a hand upon Rhaegal's scales. "When he chose you, I thought it meant I had failed him." Jon joined her. "He chose me because of blood." "No." She shook her head. "Blood allowed the bond. It did not make him stay. Viserys had my blood." Jon remembered stories of the brother who had sold her to a cow and died beneath molten gold. "What made him stay?" Daenerys looked at Jon. "You..." Listened. Rhaegal opened one eye. His thoughts touched Jon's. Warmth, sky, kinship, hunger, scars, and 2 human presences he had chosen to hold within himself. Jon placed his hand beside Daenerys. "We give the city a choice," she said. The armies departed 2 days later. Sansa remained to rule the north and rebuild Winterfell. Bran stayed in the Godswood. his sight ranging far beyond the castle. Arya rode south with Sandor, though she refused to explain why. Jaime, still recovering, insisted upon traveling as well. The march took weeks. Winter loosened its grip south of the neck. Snow became rain. Bare fields gave way to green shoots. Villages emerged from hiding as word spread that the dead had been defeated. Jon flew ahead upon Rhaegal. Every journey south felt different from the first. He no longer rode with the astonishment of a man escaping the world. He felt the dragon's weight beneath him, the stiffness of the healed wing, and the responsibility cast by their shadow. Daenerys flew beside him. They rarely spoke during flight, yet their dragons communicated in cries, turns, and currents of feeling. Drogon remained proud and difficult. Viserion recovered more slowly, often gliding between his brothers. Rhaegal watched both. At the Trident, Jon landed near the place where Robert had killed Rhaegar. No marker stood upon the riverbank. Water moved around stones as it had before the battle, and would after every living memory of it vanished. Daenerys dismounted. "This is where he died," she said. Jon looked across the shallows. "I know. Do you feel anything?" He considered the father he had never known. Rhaegar existed for him as fragments, songs, judgment, a secret marriage, a war born from choices no surviving witness fully agreed upon. "I feel that too many men died for people they never met." Daenerys looked toward him. "You do not wonder who you might have been?" "Every bastard wonders. You were never a bastard. I was raised as one. That shaped me more than a name whispered in a tower." She walked closer to the water. "My brother believed he was saving the realm. Was he? I don't know." Jon joined her. "Perhaps we are all heroes in the stories we tell ourselves, and villains in the stories told by others." "Yes." Daenerys watched the river. "What story will they tell of us?" "That depends what we do next." The Golden Company met them north of King's Landing. 20,000 men formed ranks across the Roserad, supported by sellsword cavalry, scorpions, and the remnants of the Lannister army. Euron Greyjoy's fleet waited in Blackwater Bay. Daenerys offered surrender. The Golden Company refused. The battle lasted less than an hour. Jon and Rhaegal attacked the scorpions from the rear while Drogon struck the center. Viserion burned trenches ahead of the cavalry without targeting fleeing men. Dothraki riders encircled the sellswords. Unsullied advanced behind shields. When the Captain General fell, half the company threw down their weapons. Daenerys accepted their surrender. The decision traveled to King's Landing faster than the army. By the time the city came into sight, thousands of civilians crowded the northern gate seeking escape. Cersei had ordered it sealed. Daenerys landed beyond the range of the walls. Tyrion joined her beneath Drogon's wing. "She is using them as shields. I expected it. There are scorpions upon every tower." Jon studied the battlements from Rhaegal's back. Most face outward. Daenerys understood. "Land inside the city? Near the Dragon Pit, not the Red Keep. We destroy the inner gate mechanisms and open a path for civilians." Tyrion looked alarmed. 3 dragons descending into King's Landing may cause the very panic we hope to avoid. "Then one," Jon said. Daenerys looked at him. "Rhaegal's wing is strong enough." "No." The refusal was immediate. Jon raised his brows. Daenerys lowered her voice. "Drogon is faster, and more likely to be seen as an attack. I will go. Your soldiers need you here. So do the people inside." Tyrion looked between them. "This is touching, but perhaps we might select the rider least likely to start a second succession crisis if killed." Neither answered. At last Daenerys said, "We go together." They approached from the sea. Euron's fleet turned its scorpions upward. Viserion attacked the ships first, burning sails rather than hulls. Sailors leapt into the water. Yara Greyjoy's vessels moved behind him, capturing those who surrendered. Drogon and Rhaegal climbed through smoke. They crossed the city wall at speed. Bolts filled the sky. Rhaegal turned around the first. Drogon destroyed a scorpion emplacement with a short burst of flame. Neither dragon attacked the streets. The dragon pit appeared ahead. They landed amid ruins. People fled from the dragons. Jon dismounted and raised both empty hands. "We are opening the gates," he shouted. "Go north when you hear the bells." Fear drowned his words. Daenerys climbed down from Drogon. She removed her weapons and walked into the street alone. A crowd watched from doorways. "I am Daenerys," she called. "Cersei has locked you inside because she believes I must kill you to reach her. I will not. Leave the streets. Go to the northern gate. Anyone who opens it will be pardoned." A stone struck the ground near her feet. Drogon growled. Daenerys did not retreat. An old woman stepped from a doorway. "My son guards the gate. Tell him to open it. She'll kill him." "Cersei?" The woman nodded. Daenerys looked toward the Red Keep. "No," she said. "She will not." The dragons destroyed the mechanisms of the northern gate without burning the soldiers stationed there. Jon landed Rhaegal in the yard while Daenerys and Grey Worm entered through the opening with unsullied troops. Lannister soldiers lowered their swords. The first bell rang, then another. Across the city, bells began to answer. Surrender. Jon looked toward Daenerys. She sat upon Drogon in the gate yard, face lifted toward the Red Keep. He knew the temptation in that moment. One command could end the war. Fire could climb the hill, consume the towers, and erase Cersei from the world. Drogon felt her anger. His throat glowed. Rhaegal moved beside him. The green dragon pressed his head against Drogon's neck. Daenerys looked at Jon. He said nothing. He did not need to. Drogon's fire faded. The city survived. Cersei retreated into the throne room. The mountain remained beside her. Qyburn urged escape through hidden passages. Euron had abandoned the bay after Yara's ships broke his fleet. Cersei refused to run. Jaime entered the Red Keep before the Unsullied reached it. He found his sister seated upon the Iron Throne with one hand resting over her unborn child. "You came back," she said. "I came to stop you. They have won." "Yes. Then there is nothing left to stop. You ordered wildfire placed beneath the streets." Cersei's expression did not change. Jaime had learned of the plan from a captured pyromancer. If Daenerys attacked the Red Keep, Cersei meant to ignite the city and let history blame the Dragon Queen. "You were always sentimental," Cersei said. "I learned it from you. I taught you strength. You taught me that love can become a reason for anything." The mountain stepped forward. Cersei raised a hand. "Let him speak." Jaime approached the throne. "The bells are ringing. End it. And kneel to the daughter of the man you killed? To the people you are meant to rule. They abandoned me. They chose to live." Cersei's eyes shone. "Would you? What? Choose to live without me?" Jaime looked at her for a long time. "Yes." The answer ended them. Cersei turned toward Qyburn. "Burn the city." Jaime moved first. The mountain reached for him, but Sandor entered through the side doors with Arya behind him. The brothers collided beneath the throne while Arya crossed the chamber toward Qyburn. Qyburn drew a hidden knife. Arya struck his wrist and forced him to the floor. Jaime reached Cersei. He did not kill her. He took the command seal from her hand and threw it to the approaching Unsullied. Grey Worm caught it. "Find every pyromancer," Jaime said. "The wildfire is beneath the streets." Cersei stared at him as soldiers surrounded the throne. "You are no one without me." Jaime looked at the golden hand she had once given him. "Then I will learn." Cersei was imprisoned beneath the Red Keep. Euron was captured by Yara 2 days later while attempting to reach Pentos in a stolen fishing vessel. The wildfire was removed barrel by barrel. Daenerys entered the throne room without a dragon. Jon walked beside her. The Iron Throne waited at the end of the hall, black blades twisting upward beneath the light. Daenerys stopped before it. Every step of her life had led toward that seat. Jon watched her face. She climbed the final steps and placed one hand upon the arm. Then she turned. The hall contained lords, soldiers, freed prisoners, and representatives from every surviving kingdom. The throne was made by conquest, Daenerys said. It has been defended by fear and inherited through blood. Each ruler has claimed that the realm belonged to them. She looked toward Jon. It does not. Murmurs spread through the hall. Daenerys continued. The realm belongs to those who live in it. I will not become another link in a chain that has strangled Westeros for 300 years. Nay. Tyrion stared at her. Jon understood before anyone else. You mean to destroy it, he said. No. She looked at Drogon through the shattered doors. I mean to make it unnecessary. The Great Council assembled in the Dragon Pit 1 month later. Every kingdom sent representatives. Sansa arrived from the north with Bran and northern lords. Yara spoke for the Iron Islands. Gendry, legitimized as Lord of Storm's End, represented the Stormlands. Edmure Tully returned for the Riverlands. Robin Arryn and Lord Royce spoke for the Vale. Tyrion represented the Westerlands until a new lord could be chosen. Dorne sent a prince who had survived the wars by remaining far from them. The debate lasted 9 days. Some demanded Daenerys be crowned immediately. Others named Jon. Northern lords wanted independence. Yara demanded the same for the islands. Smaller houses feared that separate kingdoms would return Westeros to endless war. Bran rarely spoke. When asked who should rule, he answered, someone who can be removed without war. Tyrion built the final proposal from those words. The Iron Throne would remain empty. The kingdoms would form a council, each sending elected or hereditary representatives according to its own customs. The council would choose a protector of the realm for a term of 10 years. No child would inherit the office automatically. No kingdom could be compelled to remain without a new vote after each term. The North chose independence but entered a defensive alliance with the southern kingdoms. The Iron Islands received greater autonomy under Yara. Daenerys was chosen as the first protector. Jon refused nomination. His refusal caused 3 days of argument and strengthened his support exactly as Daenerys had once predicted. He ended the dispute by placing Longclaw upon the council table. I did not return from death to spend the rest of my life debating chairs. Laughter broke the tension. Sansa became queen in the north. Tyrion remained hand, though Daenerys warned him the position would now require persuading a council rather than advising a monarch. Grey Worm accepted land for the Unsullied along the Reach's eastern coast, where they could build homes while maintaining their brotherhood. Missandei remained with him in open negotiations with Neath. Jaime refused lordship. He traveled through the realm finding and destroying the remaining stores of wildfire. Brienne recorded his deeds in the White Book before leaving the Kingsguard to command Sansa's Queensguard in Winterfell. Arya sailed west. Theon returned to the Iron Islands after Sansa released him from his old guilt with a final embrace. Cersei lived in confinement upon a small island in Blackwater Bay. Daenerys refused execution, knowing death would turn her into a martyr for every house that mourned the old order. Rhaegal remained with Jon. Drogon and Viserion stayed near Daenerys, though all 3 dragons traveled freely between Dragonstone and the north. Jon returned to Winterfell before the first spring. Snow still covered the fields, but water ran beneath it. The air smelled of thawing earth. He stood upon the rebuilt eastern wall when Rhaegal landed beside him. The dragon's scarred wing folded with a stiffness that would never entirely leave. Jon placed a hand against the pale mark. Below, workers restored homes beyond the castle. Children chased ghosts through the yard. Sansa held court in the great hall beneath the direwolf banners. Daenerys arrived at sunset. Drogon and Viserion descended beyond the walls, while she crossed the battlement alone. The council has already become unbearable, she said. It took longer than unexpected. Tyrion enjoys procedure. Tyrion enjoys hearing himself explain procedure. She stopped beside Jon. For a time they watched Rhaegal look toward his brothers. "Are you staying?" Jon asked. "For several days." "That was not what I meant." Daenerys looked north. The horizon had begun to clear. Far beyond sight, the broken wall stood open to lands no longer ruled by death. "I don't know," she said. Jon appreciated the honesty. "Good." She gave him a sideways glance. "Good. Certainty gets people killed in the north. And hesitation? Sometimes it gives them time to choose." Rhaegal spread his wings. Drogon answered from the field. Viserion rose behind him. The green dragon looked at Jon. An invitation passed through the bond. Jon climbed onto his back. Daenerys smiled. "You intend to leave me on the wall?" Drogon would be offended. She descended the stair. Moments later, the black dragon launched. Rhaegal followed. They climbed above Winterfell as the sun broke through the western clouds. Viserion joined them, pale wings catching gold. Below lay kingdoms wounded by war, divided by memory, and joined by choices still too fragile to be called peace. Jon did not know whether the council would endure. He did not know whether Daenerys would remain protector when her term ended, whether the dragons would one day lay eggs, or whether men would find new reasons to kill one another after the old ones faded. He knew only that the dead were gone. The throne stood empty. The north was free. Rhaegal turned toward the horizon. Jon leaned with him. For most of his life, he had believed belonging was a place granted by someone else. A seat at a table, a family name, a brotherhood, a crown. The dragon had taught him otherwise. Belonging could not be inherited, commanded, or chained. It was chosen. Rhaegal roared into the brightening sky. Drogon and Viserion answered. 3 dragons flew north above the melting snow, and their shadows crossed the living world without darkening it.